Hey, Adam.
Yep.
You know what a Speakpipe is?
No.
Well, you're going to find out today, my friend.
I'm Adam Maness.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Daily jazz advice coming at you.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Oxford American. Man, I'm loving the Oxford American, having all these copies of the magazine around the office, at home.
I know.
I just read this incredible article by a poet, a young poet, in search of basically Nina Simone, like following Nina Simone's story through the eyes of this young poet, and it's so well written, and it just reminds me every time I pick up the magazine, like how powerful literature can be towards other forms of art. It's great.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah, I read that as well. It's actually, I was just checking the title again, Nina is Everywhere I Go.
Yeah.
And folks can go to oxfordamerican.org/YHI, and there's a lot of content, including this article. You can go check that out. We encourage you to subscribe because there's nothing like having, the magazine in your hand, but this gives you a good idea to see if it's a good fit for you into your reading and intellectual lifestyle.
I really prefer the physical magazine.
I do,
because you're flipping through, you're seeing the little things, the ads, the poetry, the everything.
Right.
So.
But it's cool because they do have some nice, kind of multimedia stuff that goes along with it that you can come and reference, as many of these great magazines do, online videos and audio and stuff. And the subscription, it comes with at least one CD edition on their annual, their much beloved annual music edition. So you can check that out as well.
So again, oxfordamerican.org/YHI for the deals, for the features. So why are we talking about Speakpipes?
Okay, because we have a Speakpipe, and I feel like, well, no, you want to get on a high horse and go on a little rant there, big guy, don't you?
We have.
Oh wait, first of all, let me just say, I'm so used to calling you big guy. You're not as big as you were. Can I still call you big guy?
Yeah, I'm still kind of big.
I mean, you're a tall gentleman, but you're not big guy like we say big guy.
I'm fairly big.
Is that a funny thing when somebody says big guy? Are you wondering what do they mean?
So when you're really a big guy, when you're kind of a portly gentleman, that's the last thing you want to hear.
Really? But what if you're tall also? Can't you be like,
maybe
they mean big guy?
Yeah.
Or what about like big guy, big rich guy, big powerful guy?
That never happens to me.
There's a slippery slope.
But usually it's some skinny pretty boy who's like, "Hey, big guy," and you're like, Anyway, I wanted to talk about. We have a Speakpipe from Zoom from Vancouver, and I wanted.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know, and it's a weekly thing, and he's always got great questions. But I want to say to our beloved You'll Hear It listeners, go on you'llhearit.com. There's a place where you can contact us. You can leave us your voicemail. We need more of these than from just Zoom from Vancouver. As much as we love you, Zoom, and we do.
And we've gotten some other ones too. We've rejected a few. We had some politically incorrect ones. Let's not even go there.
Yeah, they were all by you.
No. Well, yeah, the response was going to be.
No, but Zoom asks great questions. Don't let Zoom hog the spotlight. Everybody.
Exactly.
Come at us with your own voicemails. They're super fun, and we love answering them. And
I'm just looking. I'm like, maybe it's not as easy as I think. Go to you'llhear.com, click on podcast in the upper right kind of corner. And then I just want to make sure. Maybe Zoom is the only one who knows how to
contact.
Then there's another click you're going to need to do, which would be contact. Oh, you just said that, didn't you?
So maybe we'll rehash this.
We might.
It might take a click away or so.
That's 2 clicks. I mean, people can
figure
do
it
that. Yeah.
Anyway, here's Zoom's question.
Hey guys, this is Zoom from Vancouver. Thanks for a great podcast as always. I would be interested in hearing an episode focused on minor harmony and how you harmonize tunes in minor keys, because it's definitely a bit different than major keys. And I've seen a couple different ways of approaching it, so would love to hear how you guys approach minor harmony. Okay, thanks so much, and 12 stars. Great job, guys.
12 stars.
7 plus 5,
stars.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, that's that Jeff Goldblum math.
Yeah. I try not to play in minor keys, so I'm not the best person for that. No, I'm just kidding.
My concept on minor harmony is do the same thing you do with major harmony, but make it sad, pretty much, right? Just like start crying when you play it.
Yeah, it should be slower.
Actually, I really have never thought about this. So this is going to be fun. And due to our lack of preparation here at the You'll Hear It podcast, I didn't think about it before. So this will be very off the cuff. So are we going Sans headphones?
Yeah, I've lost my headphone signal, Andrew. I don't know if there's anything you can do about that, but it's not necessary for the rest of it.
It isn't. No, we got it.
So Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the answer to how to approach minor harmony is it really depends. It depends on the tune and the context.
Yeah.
You know
but
what I mean?
number one,
Listen.
for sure.
For sure.
Okay, so now I wonder if we could break this down into a couple different situations that folks are likely to see this, that we're likely to see this as jazz musicians. Minor harmony, where it's like a predominantly minor tune or a whole section that's in minor key.
Yeah, so think about like In a Sentimental Mood, Round Midnight, Softly as in a Morning Sunrise.
Right.
That's one kind of minor harmony. It's like that minor 6 harmony, right?
Yeah.
If you have the natural 6. So if it's a C minor, you have the A natural.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the B natural is a part of that.
Right.
That sound.
Don't be square, be natural. Okay,
That's right.
sorry. I don't know why that popped in my head.
No, I'm glad you did though. That's one time, and then there's modal versions of I mean, there's impressions and that kind of thing. Even footprints would be more of a maybe a Dorian sound. I mean, it's Wayne, so who knows what sound was actually.
Well, and actually, I think that this hits on something interesting that I do use is that kind of play with that minor 6, as you're saying, minor 6/9, maybe even sometimes with the implication of the major 7th in that harmony in your voicings.
Yeah.
Versus the more Dorian C minor 7, minor 7, where it's a natural 6, but the emphasis is on the 7th and the 9th and maybe the 11th. And you can kind of shift between those two different sounds.
Yeah.
And that can really be done, even say like in Softly as in a Morning Sunrise. Because I find like when you're going into the more C minor 7, C minor 9 situations as opposed to the minor 6/9 or minor 6, a lot of our kind of traditional 4th voicings and 4th melodic shapes and movements become super useful. So you can use those even in those situations. They don't have to only be when you see that particular chord, C minor 7.
Yeah, that's really the two main different ways to approach it. And to do this, you're going to have to do some kind of analyzation. Like, so we take a tune like Alone Together, right? Yeah. There are clues in the melody and in the changes. There's a 2/5 in that. Whenever there's like a 2/5 with a half diminished and then a flat 9, flat 13. That to me clues in that this is that minor 6th harmony with the natural 6 and probably the natural 7. That's a good indication.
Yeah.
And if there's, sometimes when you see the change or you hear that change, you hear that Dorian sound, it can be very, very obvious. And sometimes not. So like, In a Sentimental Mood, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty obviously that minor 6 sound because the first thing it does after it's on the minor chord is go to that major 7 sound. You know what I mean? That little walk down thing. And then it goes to the and it actually Dorian.
Goes to the 6th at kind of the culmination of that harmonic movement on that, I guess it's the 4th bar.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the resolution of that first root movement.
So that to me is the minor 6th harmony. Now the scale you can use for that is like if it's D minor 6 is D melodic minor.
Right, right. So I think too, though, that brings up, say, in a Sentimental Mood situation, definitely kind of a minor 6/9 sound. 'Cause I think the melody starts on the 9th on that first bar, right? Mm-hmm. But you can use the 7th always in terms of with your voicings, with your improvisation, as a little bit of tension to resolve down to the 6th.
Yeah.
Like that I'll use a lot. John Coltrane does that, for sure. I mean, probably everybody at some point, but I just popped in my head the way he plays over in a Sentimental Mood. So that's kind of one approach that's somewhat unique to minor harmony, I'm thinking, as opposed to major harmony on a typical type of standard like that's sitting on a major. That wouldn't necessarily be something 7th to 6th, doesn't really give you any tension or release, but the 7th to the 6th over the minor does give you tension and release. And that's such a basic kind of format or structure of how we can use, I'm thinking soloing, certainly voicings, but it's so much like overlooked, the usefulness of it, tension and release. It's Absolutely. So basic. It's like, melody, rhythm, and harmony are the elements, but then how you tell your story, tension and release is like right up there. There's like plot development or theme development and peaks and valleys and all these different things. But I mean, just tension and release is like that basic building block. So if you can kind of master that, at least how it sounds and how you can use it so that it becomes one of those things that pops into your head like, oh, this it needs a little tension, and then it can make it so much more satisfying, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, your classic thing is kind of in a lot of situations is a half step up and then resolving down, or going up, you know, taking it out and taking it back. That's an easy way to do tension and release, and that works with minor as well. But this one's kind of unique.
Yeah, it is. And one little nuance to consider for this, especially for the minor sixth harmony, is its actual minor sixth harmony.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, any kind of tonic chord. You don't really want to play a minor major 7 all the time. The minor 6 sounds better as a tonic chord. I'm thinking about Autumn Leaves, right? Think about the end of that first A section. Bo, ba, ba, bow. It ends on that G, if we're in the key of B flat, ends on that G over a G minor. And so if you have like a G minor major 7 in there clashing with that melody, it doesn't sound as good as that with that natural 6, the E.
Right.
You know, so really master those minor 6 voicings the same way you would with major 6/9 voicings.
But maybe it's even more important with minor harmony because
what sounds better.
Right. It sounds better, but also the nuances can be more noticeable in terms of clashing with the melody, especially if we're talking about like a standard that's slow and like you're going to be sitting there. I mean, when things are moving fast, you can get away with a lot of, you know, different things, but there's so much more, it seems like, potential to clash if you aren't nailing these voicings when the melody's being played. When you get to solo, you know, it's a different thing because you still have a melody to kind of match with, but if it's your solo, if it's somebody else's, it's a moving target kind of, and you're listening for that. But being able to differentiate that minor 6, major 7, and dominant 7 over the minor seems to be one of the most problematic areas for folks.
Yeah, another nuance to this is like a 2-5-1 in a major, or in a minor tonic key. So like again, we'll go back to that last phrase of the last of the A section of Autumn Leaves, right? Minor 2-5 to G minor. Let's say. So generally, the 2 is always going to be half diminished. Generally, not always. And then the 5 will usually be either an altered sound or some kind of flat 9,
sharp 9,
flat 13.
Right. Those are going to be your choices.
But a lot of folks just default to the altered scale there.
Right.
Because it sounds great. Going to that minor tonic, that minor 6.
And I mean, all this stuff is like, you know, it sounds great as you say, but only when you apply the other elements that have nothing to do with minor harmony as well. Like we like, they don't sound so good that you can just slop your way through or just play up and down. It's got to be in time and all these different things. And so when you're listening to things that work really well, and this certainly applies to exceptions to the rule in a number of situations for harmony, because I mean, now we're in an area where you're always going to see a lot of exceptions to the rule. Harmony, I mean, you know, like rhythm and melody, there are too, but harmony is like, this is rife with exceptions. But you want to be listening to how the harmonic theory and harmonic conception of the player, especially when we get into improvising or, you know, choosing voicings or whatever, how they interplay when they do make an exception with those other elements of rhythm or melody. Like, are they jumping on a really strong rhythm and whatever, and then almost using it as like a bipolar kind of a thing where they're working against each other?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned melody, because as we're dealing with any scale theory, no matter what we're talking about, being able to form strong melodies, it actually takes some experience. You just can't be like, oh, I know that if I play this and this over this pattern, I can do it over anything. Right. Actually, those intervals sound different over different chords, so you have to practice these things. Some other theory options you have on a 2-5, a minor 2-5. So the 2 chord you can either play. You know what to play?
No.
What do you play?
Minor half diminished. We said that already. Oh, that's the one we said.
Yeah, the half diminished, and so you could play either like I think of it as the Dorian scale from a minor third above. So if we're A half diminished, like a C Dorian,
and that gives you that major ninth,
right?
Unaltered ninth,
right? The Locrian.
Or
you could do the Locrian sharp 2, which is like a C melodic minor scale over that A half diminished.
Right.
And then we meant to and descending.
Oh, is it?
I don't know.
No.
and then for the again for that dominant chord going to a minor chord, this is tricky because you don't want to do just like, I mean, you don't have to do anything like we said, but having like that natural 13 in there is weird because that's the major third to the.
Except that, now I do see some exceptions there when melodically you're going to resolve down to the minor third, because the 13 on that 5 can go down to the minor third.
It could be
in
hip.
a harsher way, depending on how you set up your melody, right?
Yeah, it could totally be hip, but you have to be aware of all these things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And when we talk about aware with this, it's really about, number one, listen, because you have to be able to hear these things in advance and know when you're going to, kind of go against the grain, how harsh it's going to sound maybe, and then do that at a musically appropriate time. If it's kind of, a time when you want to be right down the middle with your pitch, then, and I'm talking baseball pitch now because we're in baseball season. But then you want to kind of know the applicable harmonic concept that you're going to be at, especially on these dominant chords, because this is a big transition time. There's already built in some tension to the situation anyway.
One of the most basic sounds over the dominant chord to a 1 chord that you can get on this minor 2-5-1s is
pretty basic.
A little too basic. No, is the harmonic minor scale of the tonic. So if we're doing a 2-5 in G minor, you can play that G harmonic scale over that D7 flat 9.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't have the sharp 9, so it's a little less, harsh sounding. It's a little more like it has that skip there, that minor third skip.
But I love thinking about other scales anyway over different roots of the chord, taking it, because that always puts you in another place melodically for your improv.
And I feel whenever I do this, whenever I play that root, that tonic harmonic minor scale over the 5 that it's going to, I always feel like I'm so in the key. I'm already playing in G. You know what I mean? Like,
you get a little pep in your step.
I
don't
know.
you,
I
man?
like that sound a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So,
all right. Well, thank you, Zoom, again, and for the question. And look, let's put a little challenge out to our You'll Hear It listeners.
I love a challenge
because we have more power than we think. We experienced this last week. I don't know if you saw the response to our little April Fool's joke.
I mean, I felt like we really sold that.
I thought we did too, but what's funny, in my home, which I always really go to my wife because she's an avid You'll Hear It watcher. She doesn't listen to it. She watches it on YouTube. She wants the whole multimedia experience. But I always go to her for kind of feedback on things. And she was like, on April Fool's, I was like, what do you think of the little prank we played? And for those of you that didn't hear it, we basically said last Monday, I guess it was, April 1st, that this was our last episode ever. And we just sold it, and we were just like, we've had a good run, but today's going to be the final episode. And that was it. And she's like, that was so stupid. No one's going to tune in. So I was like, no, people are going to know. And she's like, I don't think people really care that much. They're going to be like, oh, okay, it's done. And then, so I was very excited that our listenership, our stats were back in there the next day, not higher.
We got to have have our wives come on for a bit of a knock us down a peg episode.
Yeah, well, we talked about that, and I think we've even floated that. So if you guys want to see that, I guess I can't say Mrs. Adam Maness and Mrs. Peter Martin. That's a little,
I wouldn't say that.
Oh no! If the better halves, as we could say,
definitely
to come on and do a little bit of a that might happen at some point if you guys give us some nudging. You know what? Why don't you give us some speak pipes about that or any other questions? Please, give us some speak pipe. Go to You'll Hit. We're gonna put a challenge out, or else we might end this next April 1st.
Okay, stop threatening.
Oh, really? We're not going into threat mode yet? Okay. No, but give us a speak pipe. Don't think, oh, my computer's too old. This system works for it won't work for yours. Adam's got an old computer. But as long as
just fine.
As long as your computer's after 1988, you'll be cool. But no, just go there. It's very easy. You press the button. And look, don't think when you record it that you're not going to have a chance. You have a chance to review it, I think, right? I'm pretty sure you do. Yeah, you do. You have a chance to review it. So maybe that's why people haven't done it, because they feel a little... Zoom. Follow Zoom's lead.
Yeah, he's great.
We might have to bring Zoom on to do a tutorial for folks. Press the button, be confident. But yeah, you'll have a chance to review it, and then you can redo it if you want, and then you submit it. So it's no pressure or whatever. But just know that if you submit it, if it's a good question, you'll probably get it.
Let's put a challenge out. Let's try to get a whole week of speak pipes. Let's do that. Let's do a speak pipe week next week.
Okay, we'll say that 5 times.
Speak pipe week next week. That's hard to say.
It is hard to say.
Cool. And always, as always, go to oxfordamerican.org/YHI to get these amazing deals for subscription to the Oxford American amazing magazine. And until next time,
You'll Hear It.